Welcome to the MamasteFit YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm gonna be doing one of my workouts and I'm gonna have my youngest kid here with me, so there will be a little bit of chaos. But I just want to show you how you can still get your workouts in even with your kids and knowing that it will be a little bit of managing expectations. Hey, my name is Gina. I'm a perinatal fitness trainer and birth doula and mom of 4. I'm the founder of MamasteFit, and a big philosophy of our gym is that you can bring your kids to our gym and work out with them right next to you. They don't have to be in a separate facility. They can work out right by your side. However, when you're working out with your kids, there is a little bit of expectation management that does have to occur, but we can set up our space, yes, we can set up our space in a way that allows them to have fun while you work out, be involved in your workouts, and then again, also knowing that there will be a little bit of flexibility that you're gonna need to do with your workouts as well. So what I've got set up today is I've got some kid workout equipment for her. We'll link everything down in the notes below if you wanna check out any of that stuff. I've got a toy here for her that's a little bit of a puzzle. We have her iPad or a screen. Using screens can be a really helpful thing to help you get your workouts in. I've got a bunch of snacks for her. I've got myself, so if I need to, I could throw her in a baby carrier, and then I've got some additional little toys here for her. So hopefully the combination of all this stuff is enough to entertain her so that I can get in part of my workout in today here with you. All right, so I'm gonna get her snacks prepped here. So she's got those ready. I've got the toys laid out for her. She's got her equipment. She's got another toy right here. And she just found a balloon. So she's got her balloon that she's gonna play with as well. So my workout today, I'm gonna start with my warm up where I'm gonna do some hip shifts. I'm gonna do some one-sided squats and some kettlebell swings. I may or may not modify the kettlebell swings depending on how mobile she is. A part of adjusting your workouts is also knowing what may or may not be safe for your kid to be around. And then I'm just gonna move through today's accessory work because I don't have the power rack here in our filming studio. So I'm gonna do my reverse lunges, lateral hip shifts, and single leg deadlifts in addition to some alternating seesaw rows so that you can see how we adjust our accessory work within our programming to help support some full body strengthening, some full body mobility in addition to supporting your pelvic floor and the normal asymmetries that we do have. So let's go ahead and get started with today's workout. All right, so she's got her station set up, so I'm gonna start with my warm up. I'm gonna start with an all fours hip shift and then shifting my weight over to the left. So when I shift my weight over to the left, I'm gonna feel more of a stretch here in my inner thigh and groin of the right leg. And then in that shifted position, I'm gonna find a little bit of an arch to kind of intensify the stretch in that inner thigh. And then I'm gonna move through some pelvic tilts. So using the core to round my back and then drop belly to the floor. So inhale to extend, exhale to round. So with this exercise, I'm trying to offload my right anterior pelvic floor, so the leg that I'm shifting away from. My right anterior pelvic floor tends to be a little bit more overactive, so I have a little bit more like pinching in that hip. And so doing exercises that kind of target the inner thigh and groin on that right side can help to offload that. For the left side, I'm gonna do an elevated hip shift. Come over here, girl. So I'm gonna place my left knee on to that yoga block. I'm gonna shift my weight over similarly as I did with the all fours hip shift from the right. And then I'm gonna find an arch in my back and then exhale, pull belly to spine to round in the back. And then just moving through these pelvic tilts, keeping my weight shifted over to the left. So inhale, drop belly down, exhale, pull belly to spine to round. So this one is targeting more of the back half of my pelvic floor. So the elevated hip kind of pelvic floor quadrant back here is being stretched a little bit more. We have normal asymmetries in our body where the right pelvic calf tends to sit more backwards, left one sits more forward. So we have more of a closed hip on the right, more of an open hip on the left. And so this asymmetry is not a problem, but sometimes we get stuck in these positions And so being able to improve our mobility to change positions is really important. And that's what we're gonna be focusing a lot on today's workout. So after I do my hip shift variations to kind of release tension within my pelvic floor, I'm just gonna move through some squats to start warming up my legs for today's lower body workout. So I'm gonna bring the weight out in front of me. I'm gonna stagger the stance, so weight's a little bit more in that left foot. I have that weight out so I have a little bit more engagement in my front abdominal wall, and then just moving through my squats. Are you doing squats too? And what's really cool is the kids will just kind of like copy you as you do your workout, which is really neat. They get more used to being around workouts too. You gonna do your squats? Yeah? And so giving them like little equipment that they can utilize, whether it's just really light weights or like these are designed specifically for kids, can be a really fun way to make the workouts a little bit more integrative for the two of you. All right, so now I have some stagger stance, kettlebell swings. With the swings, because it is kind of a fast movement, it'll be a little bit harder to stop mid-rep. I'm just gonna make sure that she's in a good distance from me and that if the kettlebell let go for any reason, she's not gonna be in my path. And then just keeping an eye on where she's at. So use your judgment of what movements may or may not be safe to have around your children and which ones maybe we need to omit from our workout routine. So that's today's warm-up. I started with some hip shifts to help release tension within the pelvic floor. For me, that right part is a little bit more overactive, left posterior portion a little bit tighter. And so I was addressing that with our all fours hip shift that looked a little bit different on each side. I then moved through our goblet squats and then finished up with the stagger stance kettlebell swing. So we had our mobility, our warm-up strengthening, and then our dynamic movement to really get the heart rate up and to get some more movement going on. So now let's move through the workout. So for today's workout, I had some hang cleans that I needed to do. I'm not gonna do cleans. I tend to not like to do like really big Olympic lifts around my kids just because it's harder to stop the movement in the middle of it. And then we moved on to some back squats, but I don't have my power rack here. So we're going to finish the workout with just the accessory work, which is that reverse lunge, lateral hip shifts, single leg deadlifts, and then alternating seesaw rows. So with all of these movements, we're gonna do something a little bit different on each side. So starting with the lunges, you got your weights? So the right inner thigh and hamstring tend to be a little bit weaker compared to the right. And so with the band, I'm gonna place it around the left inner thigh. And so when I step back for the lunges, I have a little bit more activation in that left leg. So inhale, step back, exhale, step up. You can hold weights as you do this as well, and you'll see how it looks a little bit different on that right side. Come here, Zozo. Come here. Just trying to run off the filming set. Go grab this girl. So for that left leg, I have the band around the inside of the thigh, and then I'm gonna take the band and put it on the outside of the right leg. Because of that normal asymmetry, the right outer glute and quad tend to be a little bit weaker. And so I'm gonna target that by placing the band around the outside of my knee. So I have more outer glute activation because I'm resisting the leg being driven in. So that outer glute has to fire a little bit more to keep my knee stacked over my ankle. The next thing that we're gonna move into is a lateral hip shift, and then we'll also do a standing hip shift. So with the lateral hip shift, I'm going to spread my feet out a little bit more, so a little bit wider than hip distance, and I'm gonna hold the weight in the opposite hand of the leg, and then I'm shifting my weight too. And then just alternating from side to side. So in the lateral hip shift, I have a lot of pelvic mobility that's happening in addition to thoracic mobility. So when I shift my weight towards one leg. This leg, posterior pelvic floor, is stretching. This glute and quad are turning on a little bit more. And then I shift to the other side. The straighter leg, I'm gonna feel more of a stretch in the thigh, the inner thigh and the groin. So this anterior pelvic floor is being stretched and then switching. So we kind of have opposite quadrants are being stretched and opposite quadrants are being strengthened as we alternate. In addition to the weight is helping to bring you a little bit deeper into that thoracic rotation and improving thoracic mobility. The next movement is gonna be a single leg deadlift, but this is gonna be a little different on each side as well. I'm gonna hold the weight in the right hand for both legs. So I'm gonna put my hand into the wall just for a little bit of support. You can do it away from a wall. So I'm gonna put a little bit of weight into the wall. I'm gonna hinge forward. At the bottom, I'm gonna have a little bit more internal rotation because I have that opposite hand hold. And then exhale, stand up. So holding the weight in the opposite hand or contralaterally helps to bias more internal rotation or more of a closed hip position on the left side, which again is opposite of where that left hip normally sits. So this is helping to bring more balance to that left pelvic floor. Now for the right foot, I'm gonna keep weight in that right foot now and keep that weight in the right hand. So when I come down, because it's loaded on the same side, we have a little bit more external rotation, which is gonna bias that right hip in more of an open hip position, which is again opposite of where that right hip normally likes to be. And so you can see during that first portion of the workout, she's just kind of like wandering around in the space. The space is safe for her to be in. We've set it up so that it's conducive for her, that it's safe for her to be in. And she's able to explore as I do my workout. We've done this a lot, so she's used to it. She's familiar with it. She knows like what she can play with and a little bit of what she cannot. I do still have to monitor and parent her, but it helps our workouts be more accessible, a little bit more fun as well. So we're gonna finish up with those seesaw rows. So a little bit more of that thoracic rotation as well. So hinge forward at the waist. We're gonna row as we kind of reach with the other hand and then switch to the other side. And girl. So this movement and that lateral hip shift are integrating a lot of that thoracic rotation and mobility, because if your rib cage is stuck in a certain position, like maybe you're stuck in the flared ribs, maybe you're stuck more compressed to the right side, being stuck in these positions can influence how your pelvis can position itself. So if I have limited mobility in my upper body, I'm gonna have limited mobility in my lower body as well. And we want good mobility in our pelvis to help support the attaching musculature, such as your pelvic floor. And so when we have good thoracic mobility, it improves pelvic mobility and helps to improve balance within the pelvic floor. So we design our programming to support you throughout pregnancy, postpartum, and throughout the duration of motherhood, knowing that we have these normal asymmetries within us. And so when we design our programming to address this really common pattern in a lot of us, it helps us to feel so much better throughout our pregnancies, helps to better prepare us for birth, and it helps us to feel much stronger and more comfortable in our motherhood journey. And so you can see like a little bit of a glimpse of what our programming style looks like. It's not perfectly balanced on each side. There is some asymmetry and some difference because we are not perfectly symmetrical as people. So hopefully this preview of what my workouts look like helps you understand how we address the chaos that is motherhood while still doing movements to help us feel good within our bodies. All of our programs help to address the normal asymmetry and the normal patterns that we all tend to have so that we can feel more comfortable throughout our pregnancies, that we can better prepare for birth, and that we can feel strong and comfortable throughout our motherhood journey. Because being uncomfortable and being in pain and having pelvic floor issues is not a mandatory part or a badge of motherhood by any means. And so hopefully this workout is a good taste of what our workout styles look like to help you feel good throughout this phase. And we also design our workouts to be easy to accommodate based on the chaos that you may be having going on in your lives. The workouts are split up into 3 to 4 sections so that you could either do all of the sections if you're feeling up to it, if time allows, but also split it up into smaller pieces if you need with your baby as well. Because if you don't get an hour-long workout in, it's okay. 10 minutes of movement is still movement. So if you would like to work out with us and you would like to embrace the chaos that is motherhood, head to MamasteFit.com and check out all of our fitness programs. You can use code YouTube10 to get 10% off any of our online offerings. And I hope that this was helpful for you to figure out how can you approach motherhood with your baby and still get all your workouts in, or at least part of your workouts in, because we would love to support you on this journey.